Welcome again to American Christian or Christian American. If you haven't watched this video before or if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. It will allow you to get the videos quicker, and it will also help increase the growth of this channel. Also, if you like the video, please push the like button, and that helps the algorithm within YouTube to spread the video more. It's going to be a simple video, but we're going to be talking about a reoccurring theme that we've talked about, and I've got a video to support it. So I think the best way to go about this is to show the video first, and then we'll wrap it up.
Was a poor Middle Eastern, Palestinian, Jewish peasant who lived in the first century. That means he had darker skin, that he was Middle Eastern, and that he was both Palestinian and Jewish. That is Jesus' identity. We know that Jesus is portrayed as a refugee. Jesus in the text is marginalized in pretty much every way. Why do churches not describe Jesus in that way? Racism. Churches in the United States have been very racist places, and that's why that Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. have been described as the most racist hour in America. We want to make Jesus in the United States this white Jesus. And so I have compared this in articles to the white nationalist Jesus versus the historical Jesus. And the white nationalist Jesus, which is continuing to gain momentum right now, you might also call it the MAGA Jesus, is the Jesus who has blonde hair and blue eyes, who cares about everybody being rich, who doesn't want any outsiders in this country, who just wants people to be able to make money and live a comfortable life, compared to the historical Jesus who welcomed absolutely everyone, who was brown, and who said that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. He was talking about a radical social order. And so I think one of the things that churches need to do is do a much better job of talking about who the historical Jesus was, because one thing we can say for sure is that he wasn't white.
Okay, this video was a little soft. The recording that I copied, sorry about that. Hopefully you could hear it. But as it says, Jesus was not white. Jesus was a medium brown person, or somewhere in that category. He was definitely not white. Jesus had hair of wool, bronze-looking skin. Jesus was not a white person. But that's what American white churches, not all, because as you saw, this looked like a predominantly white church, had a white preacher, and it was talking about it. But too many want to describe Jesus as white hair, blonde hair, blue eyes, in order to support a racist agenda. So I'm not as forgiving on this, because he says the more churches need to teach right. Well, that's true. But this is a deliberate attempt to maintain white supremacy in this country. So I'm not as kind when it comes to that, because white supremacy is a hateful, evil way of thinking. And that's been the history of this country all along. Churches have been responsible for atrocities. We have read about lynchings where people came from churches and they tortured people to death. In one instance, earlier video, I talked about a man who was literally had his body parts chopped off, his fingers, his ears, his genitals, and then he was set on fire. And after the man burned to death, and after his body was just charred, they broke up pieces of bone, parts of his liver that were left, and they handed them out as souvenirs to all these people who had just come from church. So I'm not really that forgiving when it comes to white supremacy in churches. And today we have MAGA, which is a reinsurgence coming out to support power and greed. See, Jesus was never about power and greed. Jesus was never about capitalism. Jesus was about sacrifice, the sacrifice he made and the sacrifices we are supposed to make. He was never about one group of people being better than other people. He was about loving all people. The only question is, do you want to follow God or not? You see, people say, why would a loving God condemn us? I'll say that he doesn't. What am I saying? I'm saying that God established his kingdom. He created mankind. Mankind fell away and was lost. God wanted mankind to come back. So he set up a way through Jesus dying upon the cross that we could be restored to him. But just like in the beginning, God allowed us freedom of choice. When Adam and Eve took from the tree of life and a good knowledge of good and evil, not the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they disobeyed God. God gave them that choice. And when they did that, they were separated from God. God loves us enough to give us a choice. He still does that. He gives us a choice. He says, this is the way that you can be saved. By identifying with me, by following me, and even if you're not perfect, I will forgive you. But if we choose not to follow him, if we choose to go our own way, then it's our fault that we're not saved. If you want to be a white supremacist, if you want to be hateful and greedy and claim that white people are superior, which we're not, we're not inferior either. We're just another part of the human family. But we weren't first. We didn't come along till after the flood. So we have to get over ourselves. We have to understand that God has a place for us, but it's not at the head of the table. God's at the head of the table. We are all his children, and we need to love each other and care for each other. When you're so afraid that white people will disappear, which I'm not afraid of, I don't believe will ever happen, but if it does, it does, because human beings are still here. But when you're so wrapped up in the idea of being white, you don't know what it means to be a human being. You don't know what it means to be a child of God. Be a human being, somebody who loves and cares for others. Is that too much to ask? Because white supremacy and racism in this country has brought violence to this country. We brought violence to this country in the sense, like we talked about in the previous video. The Native Americans were slaughtered. They even sent off blankets to Native Americans infected with smallpox. How disgusting. They've done everything to murder off or steal from people who had other things. They stole the land from the Native Americans. They had treaty after treaty after treaty that they lied about or they rescinded, that they went back on, pushing Native Americans onto even more and more worthless land. We ended slavery, and then we created Jim Crow with the North-South Compact between the states of the North and the South. The South could do whatever they wanted to. They killed and murdered people like Emmett Till and Breonna Taylor and other people, George Floyd, and all kinds of people throughout time. Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, all murdered in the idea of maintaining a superiority of white supremacy and other people. If you want to be a Christian, you can't be part of that. If you want to be a Christian, you cannot be part of MAGA. It is not the value of God. Where are your values? What do you want to see? You're either going to do things that enrich you as a white person, or you're going to do things that enrich you as a human being, which means that you have to accept other human beings. Until the next time on American Christian or Christian American.